everything you need to know about a Nissan GT-R Black Edition. So today I have the pleasure of presenting Godzilla to you. That's right, the Nissan GT-R, a vehicle that is famous all over the world. One, because they've been making it for 18 years, but also because it really lives up to its potential. A vehicle with bold styling, raw performance, precise engineering, and at the time, cutting-edge technology. The GT-R is actually one of the fastest vehicles you can buy on the market. Now, to understand the GT-R a little bit more, let's talk about where it came from. The Nissan Skyline was a four-door sedan that Nissan made back in the 60s, okay? They had a lot of different versions of the Skyline, and even back then, higher performance versions of the Skyline. Then back in the 80s, we got the Skyline R32, which was the first variant of the Skyline that wore the GT-R badge, a high-performance Gran Turismo racing version of Nissan's familiar coupe. This vehicle became super famous because you saw it in video games everywhere in the 80s and early 90s, whether it was Need for Speed, California Cruising, Gran Turismo, you had a Nissan GT-R as a vehicle that you could choose and race in. Then we saw the Nissan GT-R R34, which got famous in the movie Fast and Furious. Everybody wanted to have that blue Skyline that Brian made oh so famous. And then in the 2000s, Nissan came out with this, the Nissan GT-R. No more Skyline in the name because this isn't a high-performance version of another car. This is the performance car. It would be like having, instead of a Dodge Challenger SRT, this is now the Dodge SRT. Or instead of the Honda Civic Type R, this is the Honda Type R. This is the epitome of Nissan performance. This is the epitome of Nissan engineering. And this is the epitome of Nissan technology. And I can't wait to tell you a little more about it.
I'm Jeff Batchelor, and I love cars. I love the look, I love the design, and I love the emotion that you feel. I love the history, brand stories, marketing strategy, and automotive trends. I love engineering, types of propulsion, engine specs, drivetrain, and performance, and I love the interiors, layouts, smell, and the gizmos and gadgets and bells and whistles. But I don't only love cars, I also sell them. If you love this content and want to chat about a purchase, text me at 416-523-6585. Now back to the video.
So right before I get into today's video, I want to give a huge shout out to Ali for lending me his Nissan GT-R. When I started making this channel, I was so excited to have people write me and email me and want to lend me their cool cars to do a video. And Ali was actually the first one to write me, I think after only my second video, to say, hey dude, if you want to review my GT-R, it's up for grabs. He's been super nice. He's even told me to go take it out for a rip. So again, thank you. And if you've got a cool car you want me to review, don't be shy to reach out. All right, so let's get into this. The Nissan GT-R, the Nissan supercar. And I know that sounds crazy, but yes, in the early 2000s, we had all kinds of makes and manufacturers that were trying to come up with a halo car, a vehicle that would bring fans to the brand. This vehicle was actually part of something called the Nissan Revival Project because they knew that nobody was excited about Sentras, Ultimas, Maximas, Xterras, Pathfinders, and the whole lot. But what could you get excited about? A Nissan GT-R. GT-R, a Gran Turismo racer. And the GT-R, we've been making this vehicle for 18 years. It debuted in 2007 in Asian markets, and in 2009, it came to North America, okay? So the Nissan GT-R has three basic trim levels. It has a premium edition, a black edition, which is what this one is, and the top tier track focus Nismo model. Now, over the last 17, 18 years, the vehicle has also undergone quite a few facelifts. The general styling has stayed the same, but headlights, bumpers, and grills have all changed just slightly over the last couple years. Now, when it comes to competition, there are very few front engine, two-door, four-seater cars that can do a 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds. So coming up with a list of competitors is a little difficult. But if we're just talking about performance GT models, we have the Mercedes-AMG GT, we had the Porsche 911, we have the Aston Martin Vantage. But again, this Nissan was so exciting and so high performance for such little dollar at the time that it came out. It really does stand in a class on its own. All right, so powering the Nissan GT-R is a 3.8 liter twin turbo V6. When this model first came out, that engine was putting out 480 horsepower, but in its highest horsepower production version, the Nismo actually had 600 horsepower. Now, Nissan didn't need to make a beautiful engine bay, but they did. This looks awesome, where you can actually see this beautiful engine covers, the two intake tubes from the turbos flanking both sides. You got everything else that you don't want to see closed off, and you can actually see all the bits underneath the hood that are actually a carbon fiber composite. Not only that, but these two little inlets on the hood are functional air intakes, and they pour air right into the engine where it needs it to make sure you get the absolute best performance out of your Nissan GT-R. Nissan GT-Rs can do 0 to 60 in only 2.9 seconds. They'll do a quarter mile in under 11 seconds. These Nissan GT-Rs are track monsters because not only can they go fast, but they can also put it down to the road. These are all-wheel drive, dual clutch vehicles, and again, the handling, the precision in the suspension really helps you put all that power right into the track. All right, now let's talk about the exterior styling. This vehicle has stayed mostly unchanged for all 17 years, but those enthusiasts that love these cars are going to be able to spot every single little bit of difference that changed over the time. Now, up front, Nissan did a very, very good job of reviving and resurrecting and retaining all the key styling elements that made that R34 from the Fast and Furious movies stay in our brains. This vehicle has a very similar dual intake in the front bumper, where you've got an air intake up top, an air intake down bottom. Also help force air into the wheel wells, the braking systems, and the engine to keep this fire-breathing Godzilla pumping down the road. We've got some really unique daytime running lights, LED, very forward thinking of the time, maybe a little bit dated now. And then what people love about these vehicles is in 2015, they came out with this lightning bolt style headlamp that has been added to this one because, as I mentioned, this one is actually a 2012, but it has OEM 2015 lightning bolt headlights installed into it, so it might be playing a little bit of trick on you enthusiasts out there. As we come along the side, we see these enormous wheels. These are actually 20-inch rims. I don't think until you stand next to one, you're gonna really realize just how large this vehicle feels. I remember when I bought my Audi R8, I'd always seen it in pictures and thought it was this huge vehicle, but when I actually got it, it was like the size of a Civic. When you stand next to a Nissan GT-R, this thing is huge. This thing commands attention. This thing has so much presence, and it starts with this really epic stance. Giant wheels, really wide set, and really big wheel arches to accentuate that as well. Now, these are not stock rims, but they look very similar to the factory rims that you could get on a Nissan GT-R. And if you look through these spokes, you can see these massive calipers and massive rotors, slotted rotors, of course, because again, the performance on this vehicle is absolutely insane. 6-piston Brembo brakes up front, 4-piston Brembo brakes out back. All right, now something else that this Nissan GT-R shares with my Audi R8 is, although this is a supercar with supercar-like performance, you still get the same key that you get on the base model Nissans. Want there. But although you do have the basic key fob like every other Nissan would have, you do have some pretty cool trick door handles. You press on the back, which reveals the handle, and la-di-da, you're into your Nissan GT-R. All right, now, once you are inside your Nissan GT-R, this truly is a special place. I know this vehicle was designed almost 20 years ago, and maybe it doesn't have the same feng shui of a premium or a luxury brand, but Nissan did an incredible job putting high-end finishes as well as soft touch materials everywhere, which is something that's skipped by so many automotive manufacturers. The tops of the doors are soft touch rubber. The middle of the doors are padded leather. And this is super, super plushy leather, something that seems to be a common thing in almost all Nissans. Further down the door, we've got a leather wrapped door handle with a really unique exit mechanism. And then the part I actually like the most is the bottom half of the door is fully carpeted. So again, they put the soft touch materials everywhere on the door, which I know it's a little thing, but it's the things that I appreciate most in a vehicle. Once we're sitting in the cockpit of the vehicle and you're looking at the steering wheel, this steering wheel feels like it's straight out of an F1 race car. You've got all the buttons right where your thumbs sit. You've got an Alcantara insert right where you're supposed to be gripping the wheel. And then in between those areas, we've got the leather wrapped steering wheel with some gorgeous red accent stitching. Now, when you look through the steering wheel, we've got a very analog cluster, which depending on who you are, this could be a good thing or a bad thing. I like that it's easy to read, a big tachometer and a big speedometer, and only a tiny little computer in the bottom to change your settings and stuff, okay? And then over to the right, this is where it gets a little complicated because we have one screen dedicated just to all the cool technical elements of this vehicle. Now, if the graphics in this infotainment screen remind you of a video game, it's because they're from a video game. The same people that made the Gran Turismo video game are the same people that were tasked with coming up with the graphics in this screen. Now, up at the top, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the letters ranging all the way from A to G. Pages 1, 2, 3, 4 are customizable, and you can put any number of different gauges and readouts on these views. The first page here has your boost readout, your oil pressure readout, and your oil temperature readout. But I can also put things in here like my fuel flow, my coolant temp, my transmission oil, and many, many other things in here as well. Once we move along to the A, I now have a page that is an acceleration page. This will show me the G-force that the car is going through as I accelerate, as well as shows me what percentage of the pedal I am pushing to the floor. Maybe overkill, but really cool to see how much technology Nissan tried to put into these vehicles. If we go to the B page, it's for braking, and same thing, it'll show me the G-forces the car is reading as I'm braking, as well as how quickly my vehicle will go from said speed all the way down to 0. And again, I've got another readout that shows me the percentage of the pedal that I'm using while I'm braking as well. As we keep going, same thing for steering, same thing for gear position, and then I also have a fuel economy page, a stopwatch, and finally, a page where I can enter my own driver's notes. Because who knows, maybe someday I'm driving my Nissan GT-R and I come up with the next $1 million idea. Well, Nissan's got you covered. You go to the G page and you just enter your own notes here in case you can't reach for your phone. Now, a little further down on the center console, we've got 3 toggle switches, which is how you can customize exactly how this vehicle handles on the road. The first toggle switch is your drive mode selector, which will change your vehicle from the regular mode to the track ready R mode. The second one adjusts your suspension, which again changes the comfort regular ride of your Nissan GT-R to the ultra tight, corner hungry R version of your Nissan GT-R. And the last one is to do with your traction control, which allows your vehicle to get a little bit wilder when you're trying to get down the fastest lap time. And then right above those toggle switches is your climate control. Nothing crazy here. In fact, it's the furthest thing from crazy. They've reused the same buttons from a Nissan Versa or a Nissan Sentra here. Although the finishings are very, very nice in this Nissan GT-R, don't be fooled. There's a lot of reuse of buttons, knobs, and switches from much lower models. In the center control, we've got a automatic shifter. No Nissan GT-R in a manual version. But again, this dual clutch shifts so well that I don't think anybody's going to miss having that third pedal. And if you get tired of listening to this symphonic exhaust note, the Nissan GT-R also comes with a premium Bose sound system and a big honking subwoofer right behind you. So if the exhaust isn't enough for you, there's plenty of ways to make some noise with your Nissan GT-R. We've got carbon fiber trim around the climate controls, carbon fiber trim around the CD player, and carbon fiber trim all up and down the center console. And I really love that Nissan has this bold, bright, red start-stop button. Something that I criticized on the Volkswagen Golf R video that I did, but I'm glad to see that Nissan got that right here. And last but not least, these seats. These seats are awesome. Deep bucket leather Recaro seats with amazing red accent stitching and perforated red leather. Also, the seat controls are super simple, and I'm not sure why other manufacturers don't try to replicate it. It's one dial for everything. The same dial up makes your seat go up, same dial back and forth makes your seat go back and forth, and if you twist the dial, it changes the back. No need for 17 different buttons to adjust your seat, just one dial for all. Way to go, Nissan. All right, so the last thing I'm going to touch on the interior of this Nissan GT-R is the back seat, or lack thereof. Even with the driver position where I would sit, and I am not a very tall person, I cannot fit in that back seat. It's very tight. There's no leg room. However, there are two seats. So if you needed to strap in a car seat, you needed to squish grandma or granddad in there, or you just needed an extra cozy place where you could seatbelt in your gym bag, Nissan GT-R's got you covered. Now, you know that a manufacturer absolutely nailed it in the design category when a vehicle still looks good 20 years later. It still looks like it's a current model that was just designed last weekend. And part of the elements that make this vehicle have so much presence are these large, over-exaggerated wheel arches that you can see from the rear. You can see the front tires popping out and the fender extender they had to use just to make sure that wheel was housed in. Then we've got very strong shoulder lines that bring us all the way around to the back, and then they did the R34 a perfect honor by using all the design cues from the R34. The way that this trunk lid cuts down is exactly like the R34. The staggered location of these quad taillights is exactly like the R34. When this thing pulls in front of you, even if it is pitch black, when you see those taillights come on, you know that it's either an R34 or an R35 that just smoked past you. But again, the design on this vehicle has transcended 2 decades. It has so much presence and it has so much authority. It's big, it's bold, it's boxy, and it goes real fast. And if you've ever wondered how much cargo space you have in a Nissan GT-R, well, let me show you. The trunk area is actually massive. I could easily crawl in there with no problem whatsoever. But because the opening is so small, it's probably going to be pretty tough to get a set of golf clubs or anything large in there. All right, so to wrap it all up, the Nissan GT-R isn't a vehicle you should sleep on. And if you didn't realize just how wild this vehicle is, now you know. Way back in the early 2000s, this vehicle came out and was doing sub 3 second 0 to 60 times with a twin turbo V6. Everybody with V8s, superchargers, 10 cylinders, 12 cylinders couldn't keep up with a Nissan GT-R. And let those performance stats set aside for a second. This again wasn't a high-end brand known for performance. Again, this was coming from a Nissan. Now, Nissan GT-Rs have absolutely skyrocketed over the last 10 years. So if you got one 10 years ago, you're really, really, really happy. But now, even a 10-year-old version with low kilometers is going to run you over 100,000. So for those that are really searching for true performance, if you haven't considered a Nissan GT-R, it's probably the best bang for your buck for a vehicle that goes as quick as this. It has bold, beautiful styling. It has raw power where you feel the gear changes, you feel everything going on in the vehicle, and it has engineering so precise that this thing has all the confidence when you take it to the track.